Welcome back to the ANS Way, and we are doing our weekly catch-up.
In the absolutely roasting back garden. It's crazily hot this week. In the mornings it's starting out about 35°C. This is 6 a.m. in the morning, going up to about 40-ish by the afternoon, and then up to about 46 plus from 4 o'clock onwards. And it's 1 o'clock? Huh?
1 o'clock, yeah.
Or 12 o'clock, I don't know what it is, but it's very hot.
And it was the first time this week with working out in our garage that I really struggled. It was a mixture of me feeling tired anyway, plus I'm convinced that garage was around 50 degrees.
No, it probably was. So it's hotter in our garage once the door has been open for a few hours, because obviously the air comes in, it just sits there. So it was 46 outside, so it would be close to 50.
I was struggling, and I was taking extra breaks,
so
coming
that might be
inside.
Update number one is that we may have to actually join a gym simply in the summer months. It's not even summer yet.
Yeah.
Just so Selina can have her AC. Because you can't stick an AC unit in an open garage because you have to cool the world down.
We were discussing that maybe for 2 months, do a short contract.
And it won't be 2 months because it's not even got to summer, so it's freak weather here. And it's interesting, so you get the warnings on your phone, on your laptop. They shut off all of the parks, the play parks for the kids because they're all metal. So the only parts you're allowed to play on is either the grass, and they have loads of sprinklers around here where they've got like kids' water fountains. But the metal's probably 60, 70.
I can't imagine how, because at first we drove past and then Ant noticed that they had taped them all off and thought, oh, why? And then that was the day I was working out in our garage, and I noticed all of our equipment where it was metal was actually quite hot.
And that's out of the sun, so our garage is obviously shaded. This is in direct sunlight. So it's really
quite dangerous actually for kids, I would imagine.
Yeah, very. But it's interesting being here. It's very different for us. And there is if they said Vegas is this heat 12 months of the year, or you can go back to turn it up, just keep cranking it. I would rather be here than go back home. One of your friends posted up on Instagram after about 16 seconds of the sun. She's like, she had her hand out the window when it was raining. I just sent back, no. No.
Not for us, no.
She's like, refreshing rain. What, after half a day? It's going to rain for the next 9 months.
And it has been. So I've been speaking to my family at home. It's Father's Day in the UK today, and they're all saying how miserable the weather is there. So after 1 week of summer, it's miserable again.
And then just on that, the camera every 10 minutes needs shutting off because it's overheating. That's how hot it is here.
Yeah, and we need to shut off as well so that we can kind of cool down in between. But it has been hot and it's affecting our working out. But news for this week. So after us talking about adjusting to people here, the language barrier, how it's
calling them stupid twice.
What did we do this week?
We then we went to our post box, and Selina come out with a nice big wad.
There's me thinking, and we could see it had come from the US Embassy, so I knew it had something to do with his EAD. I thought, this is his packet, it's got all his information.
I open it up and it says you need to sign the form when you send it. Now, we sent this off 6 or 7 weeks ago, and we've just received it back now. And bearing in mind, I did it, Selina cross-checked it, and then I triple-checked it, and then we sent it off. And as clear as day on page... To give you, I don't take it. There's no excuse. This is nonsense.
No,
we should have
Signed
signed
it. This is on
we
us.
are also stupid, and the only excuse I can give is we live in Vegas now, so we're just bringing it down.
Okay, IQ has dropped.
Yes. But on page 5 of 7 or 8, which is a bit weird, there's a signature box like midway up. It doesn't make sense that it's in the middle of the page, but that is not an excuse. We accept that. That was stupid.
You know what? It's really bizarre because I'm going to say maybe I wasn't fully with it at the time. And
we must not have
I
been.
finished work and I checked, but the ridiculousness of it all was that I was checking that he had, because if you supply like
additional documentation
evidence, you have to sign that. So I was like, sign here, date that, sign the pages.
Which I had.
But then it never occurred to me about the actual signature for the application, and it wasn't obvious to me. And even when I looked at it, it wasn't obvious. I realised it was a big mistake on our part. But anyway.
So we...
just wasted.
yeah, we wasted 6 weeks and potentially another 6 weeks because I don't know how long it takes to get there because it has to go to a post box. Someone picks it. It's a whole thing. So potentially, I'm not going to get my EAD this year. Who knows?
And who knows what else we've got wrong?
Yeah, it could come back again. We accept that was us, but in truth, it is still a bit silly. You can't just do this online and then just, if you need to send supporting documentation. However, what I did find, and this isn't for the EAD, this is more around immigration. Since Biden came in, they've actually made it a lot more sensible for a lot of the immigration rules. For example, if they've already got your biometrics on there, they don't force you to go back to an office to do your biometrics for every time you need to do something. And a lot of changes are coming down the line.
And also about how you fill in the application. Before, they used to be super strict about, you even had to put not applicable for things that weren't applicable to you.
Because they couldn't just ignore it. Why would you be able to just ignore it knowing it's not applicable?
Yeah, so they've relaxed on silly things like that as well, apparently. In other news, which is quite exciting for me, and it's been, and bearing in mind when the pandemic started, I was traveling all the time for work, meeting colleagues, meetings, customers, and that came to a very abrupt end where I was literally just at home for the next year. And this week coming up, it will be my first time meeting colleagues again in real life, not being on a Zoom call.
Since
or Teams.
2019?
No, 2020, because I finished my last meeting in February. I think I went to San Francisco.
Oh yeah. So we were away into 2020. Then
We went
did
Thailand.
that, and then,
So I had 2 trips. I was in Winnipeg. I went San Francisco, and then a few other places at the beginning of the year. So I was traveling every week. I was in a different country, and sometimes visiting 2 places in 1 week. And then suddenly not to see anyone for over a year, and then only seeing people via video call. And I've had new people join my team that I've interviewed.
I've been working and you've never met.
I've never met, and I always joke at the moment that I've only seen pretty much this part of people, not seen the rest of them. And so I have actually met one person, but that was, she lives here and we've gone out with them, but that's not been in a work capacity. So this week will be really interesting and weird because we'll have a meeting with colleagues and be in a room together, and it's really interesting at the moment because in Vegas now you don't have to, masks aren't mandatory, they're at normal capacity, so life is starting to get
for at least 2 or 3 weeks now. It's really weird because I went to the dentist, as I mentioned in another video, and I forgot to take my mask. It was in the car, but they had the mask on, so there's certain things, but in general, restaurant, shops, just nothing, and you don't even really remember that it's happening here. There's no restrictions. Everything's at full capacity now. All of the sports venues, the food. So it's a bit weird. Even for me, it's exciting. I'm not going. I don't work there. It's quite exciting to think
we're
we're going
doing
back to
a
work.
team building exercise, I think, as well. I think we might do an escape room this week. I'm not 100% sure what we're going to do, but I'm just happy to feel like we're doing something normal again, and life is kind of in the right direction now. Anyway, I'll let you know how that goes next week and how weird it is to be around people again. The other news is really, as always, we're always trying to be very mindful about what we do with our money, how we're planning. Obviously, in the UK, we had rental property. With us moving here, we've needed to think about the fact that we're renting. We might be looking to stay permanently here. When I say permanently, at least for a number of years in Vegas. So we're assessing at the moment what's the right thing for us to do. Do we continue? And Anton, and I'm sure he'll start in a moment, his mind thinks of pretty much for every kind of possible thing, he has 100 possible ways of, he thinks of every avenue.
It's
of
just, I can't play chess, but I know what chess is like. So it's just chess for money. That's it. And just to, I would say it's going to be short, it's probably not that short, but to give you an idea, anybody that understands anything that's going on now financially, inflation is crazy. You've got standard inflation general, which in some places is reaching 5% like here, which is unheard of. It's usually below 2%. You've then got inflation on homes, which in some cases in a year is 30%, which is just crazy. And then cars, especially if you live in the UK and here,
we're hearing lots
used cars have gone up. This is why you have to think of things. So fortunately for us, our salaries have remained the same, which actually means if everything goes up, you have less money. because your buying power is lower. However, if you're invested like us, our investments, especially the houses and the stock market, have gone up the same amount everything else has gone up. So we might have in the last year have had well over 30% increase in our investment portfolio without putting additional money in. So we've actually kept up with the market. So that's the reason why I'm always thinking about these things. Now, what we're going to have to do now is we've got stuff going on at home where one of the houses is probably going to be sold fairly soon within the next few months. So it's a case of, do we take anything that we have in there and buy somewhere here, which has actually gone up about 30,000 in the 2 months. So when we last looked at home, the same homes now are 30,000 more. Do we take that, buy somewhere here that we can live in, reduce our outgoings, build up some equity, or do we take that money, add some more money into it and buy somewhere in the UK that we can then
and then we
rent
continue
out?
To rent here instead?
Yeah.
Which has
we can't do both.
There's pros and cons to kind of both situations.
One, cash flow is really high. If we buy in the UK and rent out, increases our cash flow, gives us a bit more protection. Here, we'll need to take a minimum of about 170,000 to buy, probably more, to buy somewhere here, which means not only do you not have the cash flow because you live in it, you've now got 170,000 less in your pocket. So it's a dangerous road to go down in some ways.
And it's different when you're buying for yourself as well, when you're considering it as a home, because an investment property is very different to a property that you're choosing to live.
Yeah, massively different.
And the amount and it's a difficult one because there's the perhaps logical sense or what would probably be best financially, but also the fact of
you want a home that's your own. So sometimes you don't satisfy the logic because actually you want to own your home and live in there, and you don't mind that you're not going to be earning money off it because it gives you some comfort or satisfaction.
Yeah, and it's very different if we settled on the fact of, okay, we're just going to rent for the next 3 to 4 years and be somewhere. Then my mindset about my rental property would be the place I'm renting would be different. I would treat it like my home, but at the moment I feel like we're just doing these 1 year kind of temporary moves, and then you never feel settled, and then you don't feel like doing up the home, making it your own. Whereas if you buy somewhere, you know you're committing. And I think we just need to work out what we ultimately want. So that's our current conundrum, which he does most of the strategizing.
But I enjoy it. It doesn't bother me. I enjoy it. If I wasn't thinking about it, that stresses me out more than thinking about all of these things.
How it normally goes is Anne is typically awake from, say, any time from 4:30 a.m. He will wait for me to stir, and as long as he gets...
If one eye is half open, that's it.
So Selina, I was just thinking, there's this possible route, and then we could do this, and then we could buy that, or we could go down this one, or I could take a flight over there.
Yeah. But no, it's true, and I get it. But so far, it's served us more than just well.
It's just
more than well. It served us amazingly that we are super protected, even if we were to. Not that I've got a job, but if we were both to lose our jobs, we would be okay, and that's in a really short space of time. Because of stuff like
because
this.
He waits for that moment that I'm awake to download all of it. I
That
know
is the sole reason.
He's probably just like waiting there.
I do sometimes.
Wait, and then just like he's doing this probably to me when I'm waking me up. In other news this week, actually a lot of my friends and family have been asking because week before last our things arrived from the UK after forever 3 months.
Between 1 year and 3 months and 3 months.
Yeah. Well, actually, if you take it from the absolute beginning.
That's what I put on our video.
Yeah.
So originally, was it March of 2020? Was it March?
June, I think.
June of 2020. So, sorry, a year. Most of our stuff left the UK. So it's the first time we'd seen it in a year, which is actually really exciting. So I'm still excited now because it feels like a lot of the stuff is brand new again.
Of treats.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know I had all of this.
Re-gifted yourself all of these things.
And some of it you're thinking, why did I keep this?
There's a lot of that. But we mentioned in our previous update that we weren't going to unpack, so I would say there's maybe 15-20% of the stuff is just packed into one room in the original boxes.
Which is really nice about the size of American homes is that if we'd gone to San Jose, I'm not entirely sure we would have had the space. Now we've put stuff in the garage one is amazing because it has the integrated cupboards, and we've pretty much packed what was in our normal garage and taking up all of the space
is now in cupboards, so we know where our bike stuff is, the car stuff to blow up the tyres, the grease is all sectioned off. We've then got obviously the gym. We've then got our little trolley thing, which I took Selina up the road in the other day.
And he dumped me out of it as well.
Yeah, onto the hot pavement. And then on the other side we have the car, and somebody gifted us a mirror, really, really kind.
yeah,
I need to buy them a bottle of wine.
Oh yeah, we need to
but
do that.
a huge mirror. He actually come up the street, and I was working out. He's like, "Do you need a mirror?" I'm like, "Huh?" And he's like, "Yeah, you look like a man that needs to look at himself." Okay.
Which has been great, because now when we work out,
Yeah,
we've
we can
got
do
this huge
deadlifts,
mirror that we can use to work out to.
So we've, I would say of all the stuff that we're going to unpack, it's all unpacked in its home. We've sorted out where the TVs go. We've set up the sound systems, and it feels like home. The downside to that is we know realistically, there's a 50-50 chance that we are going to buy somewhere.
Yeah.
And then there's probably an even higher chance that we won't necessarily be in this home. So we know that come the end of this lease, it's all got to be packed up again, which is quite unsettling after having lived in 3 homes over the past year.
Yeah, and there is absolutely no point when you know that we could be out in 8 months. There is zero point in unpacking everything to know that in 8 months' time, or less than that, when we start unpacking again, that we're going to have to pack it all up. And the chances of staying here, I don't know, because also the person that owns this property
is only doing a work placement in Seattle, so he really loves Vegas, so the likelihood of him coming back is quite high. You don't know what's going to happen, so it's not just up to us, it's somebody else's home, and it's not a home they bought for rental. They've been forced, because they're a doctor, and have to go and specialise in something, to go to Seattle when they don't really want to live there.
Yeah, I don't think they like it there.
No, it seems like they want to come back, and we're like, can we just buy this house?
If we could buy this house, I think this house would look amazing once it's been modernised. But yeah, that's the situation we're in, and I think we've been quite sensible as well with what we've unpacked. The only thing that's happening at the moment is, where's the ice cream scoop?
Yeah, it's silly little things like that, that you then have to go searching through boxes to get out.
But the one thing for me is, for me personally, having our sofa, I love the fact that we've got our sofa back.
Our bed.
And the bed, I've missed our bed is super comfortable. It's a super king size, and I think those are the things, and the bike. I think it was just so fun, and we have actually gone out on some bike rides.
Yeah, we try, and it's tough because it was 2 days after the bikes arrived, which we were still doing our unpacking, that the 46-degree temperatures
the heat warning came in, and they're encouraging you to stay
and prior
indoors.
to that, it'd been like super temperate, really, for me. Like
it was
30s, high 20s to mid 30s, which is perfect for me. And then boom, 46 every day since then.
So I think we went out 3. I've been out 3 times. On my
so I've been
bike.
out 4 or 5 times on the bike.
And it's so nice. And where we live, I'm not a confident cyclist at all. I don't know. I think I've mentioned this in some of the older videos. I actually, during the pandemic, I relearned how to ride bikes. Not fun as an adult, but it's been nice here because this is perfect. There's hardly any roads. They're
Hardly any roads?
No, hardly any cars, sorry.
There's plenty of roads.
There's plenty of roads, but it's all paved. There's cycle paths as well.
They're
And
very wide.
considered.
Their cycle paths aren't like the UK where you've just got to sort of fit between the gutter and the curb and a car. They're huge, so you can wobble in them and still not get hit. And Summerlin, so when she says they're considerate, Summerlin, they are super considerate, and you see kids out that look about 8 to me on their own. So that shows you it's trusting. Whether you agree with it or not, it's a different thing, but people are trusting around here. They always stop, slow, and because you can look quite young, I guess, when you're out on your bike, they stop, let her cross the street, because they're like, why does her dad run off?
So there was a couple of incidences where the cars just like stopped in the road to allow me to. I think they were a bit worried about what I was doing.
If you go more towards the strip, you don't get it's absolute chaos down there.
I wouldn't cycle there, but it's been nice. Unfortunately, though, it's so hot now. What's the other thing? So we've taken up through Groupon. I can't remember if we've mentioned.
We did. We told them the whole thing. So if you want to know how we got there and what we paid, watch the previous weekly update. But this is our second time at climbing now.
Yeah, indoor climbing.
Where actually we don't know them, but we are told these are very high level climbers that actually go to that climbing centre as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So in Vegas, we mentioned that in the other video. very common for people that live here to be into rock climbing, but obviously when it's super hot you get the option to do indoor, and obviously they teach people like us who have no idea what we're doing.
It's very, very interesting.
It's fun.
It's pretty much just like, firstly, everything is very highly technical. Anything that's worth learning is usually super subtle skills, and sometimes really simple stuff that they teach you, like, why was I doing that? This makes it so much easier. So it's really interesting when you're going through these things to learn. So even if you don't think you're ever going to get into climbing, like I would never climb outside. So it was like, oh, maybe I would until she watched some.
No, I've never. I can't see me rock climbing.
It's terrifying.
At all.
But I really appreciate a lot of the skills, and I appreciate the guy giving us some of his tips and tricks, because it translates onto my bike riding. It translates onto my lifting as well. Just sort of, a lot of it's your mind, isn't it?
Yeah, and they teach you how to be efficient with your body, but then what muscles to use, and it's a lot more technical. I mean, these guys make it look really easy.
There's very little brute strength. There's a lot of strength, because you need a lot of strength in your core, but very little brute strength that's required to be a good climber. You need a strong back, strong arms, and strong core. Yeah,
and just it's quite a good community of people that are very friendly. So we just end up hanging out there for about an hour.
He let me drive his truck. So he's like, we've been talking about cars and bikes, and they're buying a huge bit of land somewhere in
So I can't remember.
Indiana? Somewhere like
Indiana,
that.
I think, yeah.
He's
Indiana.
into his motocross, and because he's like, do you want to drive my truck? Okay. It's got a big 6.7 litre diesel Cummins engine, which I'm into my engines. It's like, yeah, he's like, oh, it's tuned and everything, jump in, drive it, because I don't care. So he just went for a blast around the block, had a chat, he invited us for lunch if we wanted to go. So it's a great way to meet people whilst learning some skills.
Yeah, and it's been fun. I realise I don't think I'm going to be a climber at all. And to the point where our hands were really aching, forearms,
and the day before.
Really inefficient, my way of climbing. But yeah, it's been fun, and you can do it indoors. So when you're thinking, this is a great thing about Vegas, I think. There's just so many activities that you can do, and it's whether it's in searing heat and you need to find somewhere like comfort indoors. There's loads of activities here.
Yeah, it's probably the place with the most activities, even people that have come from California, including the guys that it's just like, there's everything that you would ever need here. Why pay for California? The only thing you won't get is a beach, but
you can drive to the beach.
So that's our weekly update. That other than the week that we skipped one for this week. Hopefully you find some of the stuff useful and interesting, and if you are considering coming out to Las Vegas, it gives you some ideas of what to expect and what to do.
I mean, we've been here now coming up to 4 months, and I think I've definitely been far more settled. At the beginning it was interesting because it felt a bit like a holiday, but what I'm appreciating more is just how much I really do like it here. And even though we make fun or we talk about all the issues with the banking and all of the stuff, or just the form filling, the mistakes, the not so fun part of getting used to a new place, the quality of life and what we're getting back in return is so good. And we ultimately want to just share that with you guys, and we love all the new comments that we're getting, new subscribers. So if any of you are going through this or thinking of coming to the US, let us know what you would like to know, because there's so much from the culture, the food, activities, landscapes.
We are going to take, so a lot of people, a couple of people have said about doing like a day of food. Now, despite what you might see, neither of us actually eat a lot in one sitting. So unlike the food YouTubers, which is a skill in and of itself, we actually don't eat that much. So if we were to go out, you'd probably get one.
That's our only problem. So I've actually said it would be great for us to do a day of eating with us, but we probably couldn't do it.
Can't physically eat that much. So what we're going to do, we will do a weekend of eating, which will equate to just one video, because it'll be 4 places, maybe.
We'll pick a breakfast and lunch or dinner.
And then as we learn new places, we'll then add those on. And we are going to do, I know I keep saying it, but we're going to do a cost comparison as best we can of the US, living in the US to living in the UK. The reason we haven't done it yet is, still surprisingly, one of our bugbears, not all of our utility bills have come through. probably. I don't know what it is with this place, but they really seem to struggle with the basics, such as utility, providing you with water, gas, electricity, or the bills.
We will work it out eventually when we find out. And
By
we'll
the
share
time
that.
we've left here, we'll know. So we don't really want to give you inaccurate information. We want to provide it as accurately as possible.
But yeah, just give us some ideas if you've got anything that you want us to do or find out in Vegas, or even if it's a place to go, because we are planning trips around the
definitely.
US, so we're more than happy to do that as well.
This video is going to go on forever, but the reason why we are planning to go, however, unlike Las Vegas and I'm sure places like Texas and Florida, not everywhere is open.
Yeah.
So I was looking to book Disney tickets. I'd like to go. We're relatively close to Disney, but you can only go if you're a California resident. Otherwise, it's not available to you. And there's other places where you can only go if you're a California resident. So what I don't want to do is find a couple of places, think great, try and fill the weekend, and we can't get in. So we're just waiting for most of the states to be similar. So if we do a road trip, we can at least stop off and know we can get food, go to places.
Yeah. Well, thanks for watching.